And I spent a year bolstering my package and building a reel with my friends and doing all these things. And when I came back in the beginning of 2020, I was like, hey, listen, I am going to get an Atlanta agent. And it's either going to be you or it's going to be someone else. So I would like to take a meeting. And they were like, can you be down here Wednesday? And it was like Monday at 9 p.m. I was like, yes, I absolutely can.
Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. We are going to dive into acting insights, meet industry pros, and master the business. Don't forget to subscribe and share. We're keeping you behind the scenes and ahead of the game. Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Jesse Malinowski, and this is Get Scene Unscripted. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We have an incredible episode coming your way. I'm so excited that you're here, and I quickly just want to say it does not go unnoticed that you've chosen our podcast to be on your journey. There's so much content out there, so I just want to say thank you so much for trusting us to be able to serve you in a big way. So let's get to it. Don't forget to subscribe. We got an incredible actress in the house. And we've known each other for a while. You may or may not know, you had a fantastic role in 0 Day opposite Robert De Niro, Eden Lee. What's up?
It's really great to be here, Jesse.
It is really good to be here.
Yeah.
You know, I was so excited. We had the call back together not long ago.
Yeah, we did.
You know, and I have to tell you, I was like very impressed with you because you and you did this just like you were like being like, there was a moment, I don't know if you remember this in the audition, there's a moment we kind of like did something awkward together.
Yeah.
And I think most people would have been like, oh, I messed up.
Yeah.
And you were like, this doesn't feel good. And then like you did something else and I was like, that's so damn smart.
Yeah, I think I was like, no, I don't like that. And I just moved my arm. Yeah.
No, it was like, but in the moment, I didn't tell you this because I know we immediately kind of like separated ways, but I was just like, that's so smart to just like trust your instincts. Own exactly what you're feeling, and you were like, oh, I did this doesn't work, now I'm gonna do something else. And I just thought it was so good.
I mean, the presumption under that context, we were a couple, right? So I should be comfortable being like, I don't like how you're holding my hand like this, hold it like this. And so
and it's like, and that happens. You do that as a couple sometimes, right?
I do it all the time. That's why it was so easy. I was like, you're my husband, I'm gonna boss you around. There we go.
Abby, what are you doing? Anyway, let's jump to 0 Day to begin. And I know we're going to go over a lot of stuff talking about working locally, which a lot of actors have questions about. And you have done, I mean, you did it for 0 Day. So, but working on 0 Day, can we just jump into like Robert De Niro? I mean, he's a legend. How was that?
Surreal.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean, even, all the way from the audition process, there was, when the appointment details came out, I had a snowball's chance in hell on just trying to get on this show. And when I realized everyone that was going to be on it, of course, I had to do anything and everything to try to make my presence known. But he was wonderful. He's just so kind and so quiet. He really keeps to himself, and he just works really hard.
I mean, I feel like that would make sense because, Robert De Niro is an older man. I mean, I think we had looked it up right before we got up here.
He's 81 now.
81 now. Like that's just wild. Because I'm like, you gotta wonder. Like, I don't imagine he probably needs the money. You know, it just like goes to show you like the love for this. Like, even at this age, like still wanting to do it and at like such a high level.
Yeah, I think, in meeting him, I think whenever we work with these stars that we grow up watching our whole lives, we have some conception that they're these infallible people, right? They must be perfect. They must always be, highly memorized, and they must know exactly what they're doing at all times. But in meeting him, just getting to meet him as a person was really nice because, he's an old man and he's been doing this for a really long time. And it's just so clear how much he loves it because at one point, his son Julian was part of our cast, and so we were talking.
Cool.
Yeah, and he had told us that De Niro wakes up at 4:30 every morning before our 6:45 call. Wakes up at 4:30 in the morning to work with his trainer, runs lines, and then comes to set. And so it just speaks to the work ethic of what it takes to be who he is and why he is honestly legendary, right?
Damn.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Do you have a thought, like, learning that, did you like come back home thinking, how can I apply this type of like level of dedication, work ethic?
Yeah, I think it made it really clear when I was working with him. I mean, if at 81, at that point in time, he was 80 years old. If at 80 years old, the first thing that he's prioritizing is moving his body in order to kind of find his way into his artistry, that was a big takeaway for me. And so in coming home, that was something that I integrated regularly. And I find that movement is crucial to what it is that we do. But also subsequently, we just have no excuses, right? There's always opportunities to show up earlier, take more time, to go deeper
Mm,
within your script. And so I always say you don't have to be the best actor in the room, but you do have to work the hardest. And that's kind of, he's just a testament to that and just showing up and being a kind person.
yeah, one of my favorite quotes is uh, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
I always tell people when people are like, how do you do, whether it's different parts of my career, right? People have been like, how did you get to do this? Or how did you get to do this? And I'm like, I don't know. I just work really, really hard. I might not be the best actor in the room, but there's no question that I worked really, really hard at whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, that is so true. I mean, I will brag on you, and I mean, honestly, I'm so proud of you. I met Eden in 2020 when we started doing a lot of online things, and I mean, and if you think about it, Eden, it's like you stuck out very quickly in our community. Like, I mean, everyone at the studio knew your name, but we had never actually met you. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you think like, I mean, to me, that's like pretty remarkable. And I do have we kind of talked about it downstairs a little bit, but it's like, how? Like, why did we know you so well? You know what I mean? And I'm like, all I can think is, I'm like, you always showed up. You always asked good questions. You were present. It was just you were just always professional and ready. And I think sometimes as an actor, you're like, that's not noticed. But I mean, like, actually, when I think of you, I'm like 100% it was noticed. We all knew you. And I'm not surprised at all that you're where you're at. And so like, I'm just so proud of you. And you've come like such a long way in the, I guess only 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, that's always really, really nice to hear. Working with you and at that point in time, actor Spark was, I had just signed with my Atlanta agent
Mm-hmm.
right before the pandemic started. So January of 2020. And it became very clear when the whole world kind of shut down that I just didn't want to waste my first year in lockdown, not getting to know my market.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're given opportunities to connect with people and start building a relationship, I'd be remiss to say that I didn't take those opportunities up. And I think a lot of the times, especially with newer actors or just actors in general, there's some presumption that because we're artists that we can't be good at business stuff, right? We're these right-brained people who can't be good at the left brain things. And I find that the only way to move forward in this career is to figure out how to do both.
Yes.
Because I know so many amazing actors that I've worked with for years and years on end who are never going to see, have worked tirelessly to work towards their first network credit and they can't make that work. And the thing that they throw their hands up and say is like, I'm just not good at the business stuff. I'm just like not good at business. I'm like, you have ample opportunity to learn, so maybe you should figure it out.
Hey, if you are a parent of a young rising star, then listen up. We have what we call our Rising Star program, and this program is so simple but so effective. It really follows something I created that I call my triangle of success. And what this does is no matter what actor is trying to move forward in their journey, I believe if you follow the triangle of success, you'll be able to do it. And it's following 3 simple things: understanding that this is a business, and then improving your auditions, and then improving your connections. And so that's what we do every single month. It's super simple. You get 2 online workshops because the whole program is online, because that's where the business is now. And so you get 2 workshops every single month. One focuses on auditioning, commercial or theatrical, because those are the auditions that you're going to be getting that will eventually make you money when you book them. Theatrical and live Zoom. And so you work on a specific type of audition every single month. And then the next workshop, we bring in an industry pro. Not to mention, there's Q&As with every single industry pro where we can focus on that business. So you see that triangle of success where it's auditions, business, and then connections. When you follow that formula, you will undoubtedly move forward faster in your journey. So I want to hook you up right now. Head to the description in the bio right now, and you will see a discount code for $19 for your first month. That's less than $10 a workshop. So go ahead and try out the first month for only $19, and we'll see you in our Rising Star program. I mean this in the nicest way, but I'm like, you actually have, like, you don't even live in Atlanta, but I don't know that a lot of people would know that about you.
Yeah.
Like, you've done it so well.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you absolutely can make it happen.
Yeah.
It might be harder.
Yeah.
You know, so do you want to talk about how has that journey been for you to actually find great success, have a fantastic Atlanta agent, be able to prove yourself as someone that's like, yeah, I live in Atlanta. Like, I'm here, and you're not going to know the difference. Casting's not going to know the difference. Like, I'm going to be where I need to be. Like, has that been more challenging than you expected it to be?
There have been challenges, but that was the context in which I signed with my Atlanta agent. So when
Did they know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they were pretty much like one and done, right?
Yeah, I don't even think there were conditions on the front end, but I had reached out to AWA maybe a year or two prior and was like, I'm really interested. And they were like, you're really great. I put myself on tape for something, and they go, are you down here? And I went, no, but I can be. And they were like, we'll see you when you get down here. And so for a year and a half, I was like, okay, clearly my package is not attractive enough. My home is in Charlotte. My family's there. And the reality is that acting is just a part of my life for me. So it didn't make sense for me to uproot everything that I had to come here to pursue this. And I know you just had a guest on where the big thing was like moving to the market that you want to work in. But for me, it just was a personal choice that I wasn't ready to make yet. And I spent a year bolstering my package and building a reel with my friends and doing all these things. And when I came back in the beginning of 2020, I was like, hey, listen, I am going to get an Atlanta agent. And it's either going to be you or it's going to be someone else. So I would like to take a meeting. And they were like, can you be down here Wednesday? And it was like Monday at 9 p.m. I was like, yes, I absolutely can. So I drove down, and I think from the jump, I just proved when I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to be there. And so that has continued to be the track record of me booking work. Like the first year 2021, when I was working here and building my resume, I don't think I made a whole lot of money, because especially when I was putting myself up during COVID quarantine times where I had to be down here COVID testing, waiting 48 hours to test again before even getting on set. It wasn't as simple as, driving in just for the fitting and then for the shoot itself. There are longer caches of time that went on, but it was the agreed upon terms of my agent was that I'm going to be just as valuable to you as any Atlanta talent is going to be. And when I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to be. And so honestly, for the last 5 years, that's what I've been doing, working local to virtually everywhere in order to make it clear to casting as well as to my agency that I am a woman of my word. And so I've earned that reputation.
That's super powerful, Eden. And then it's like, that's not part of like being it is part of being an actor, but it's like, let's go be an actor.
Yeah.
And like, be where you say you're going to be. Maybe you're taking the late night drive. Like they told you had less than, 30 hours, like to come take an in-person meeting. And I don't know what you had to do the next day, but it got rescheduled. Like, you like those things don't get practiced in acting class. Yeah. And I think there's just so many of those types of things now in the industry that don't get discussed as much or maybe as bluntly. Yeah. And it's like, sure, let's hit our mark and be good on camera. But if you're not going to be where you say you're going to be, like you're saying, like, it doesn't matter if you can hit a mark. You're never going to get a job. Yeah. You're never going to get the opportunities. Yeah. So it's like these other things, whether it be confidence or determination, it's like these things are so important and they need to be cultivated and worked on.
Yeah. And I find that, now that the industry is ever changing, but now we have people in these larger markets in New York and LA who are subsequently willing to work local to their opposite bicoastal market. And so now more than ever, everyone's playing the same game.
Yep.
And so this is no longer of like, oh man, I'm a Southeast actor and they won't put me up. Everybody is running into the same challenges when it comes down to productions being willing to foot the bill to travel them anywhere. And so when that ends up being the case, personally for me, I mean, this is a decision that I've made for myself, and I understand that it comes from a place of, like I've financially created a world where I'm allowed that flexibility. But if everyone's playing the same game, it's either your responsibility to level up and play at the same level as everyone else, or you're gonna be left behind, and you can no longer say that it's because things are unfair. It's unfair for everyone right now.
Damn, that is so good, Eden. And you talked about a couple of things that I just want to like hit on even further, because I want to make sure they weren't missed by the listener, which is like you've set yourself up so you can work this way. And I'm like, I feel like there's like two kinds of people. The person that's doing what you're doing, you're like, okay, this is going to be my best way to success, is to set my life up this way, to be able to be where I say I'm going to be, have money to be able to do it, right? So you have another job that we could touch on very briefly if you'd like, so you have this other job so you can do it, right? But then there's probably the other actor that's like, no, I deserve more. Yeah. Like they should bring me there. They should put me up. I shouldn't have to do that. But like, you have to understand that like probably the most important decision you're going to make is not where you're going to go study. It's that decision right there.
Yeah.
It's that decision right there. How are you going to show up, and what's the attitude that you're going to bring?
Yeah. I think, now I'm at a place where I'm starting to make more calculated decisions about working local to certain markets. And it's with full support of my representation because of the track record that I've had. But at the end of the day, they know that I'm always willing to be. I'm always willing to work, and I'm always willing to negotiate it. And I think you need to make it clear that you're a team player. I just don't operate in a mindset that I'm just like too good for something. I think, a big thing that you talk about is like the power of saying yes and seeing where certain opportunities take you. And so very seldom do I say no to an audition, even if it's not something that I'm like particularly super enthusiastic about. But I look at auditions as an opportunity to create my own art. And so my self-tapes and what I do are always like a point of pride and contention. And so I think it's always important to seek the positive in every aspect of this industry, because if you let it gets pretty bleak pretty fast.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, talking about the yes thing, and I think you have to remember like how this business kind of works and runs, right? Like I remember that casting director booked me on a commercial where I made $750. And at that point I had booked a lot of commercials. I could have easily been like $750, bullshit, I'm not doing that. Yeah. But then that same casting director booked me on a commercial where I made like $70,000.
Yes.
So I'm like, you don't think that casting director was like, oh, I'm so glad Jesse came to the $750 commercial audition, because so many people probably turned it down. And like, I understand that to that casting director, I'm like, I don't want to say like doing them a favor, but I'm like, hey, we're in this together. Like, I want to do a good job for you, just like I want you to do a good job for me. I want you to give me these opportunities and fight for me and want me to book it, just like I want you to get more work. So I'm going to be there for you too, right? So it's like, I think sometimes that gets forgotten about. It's like when you say yes, you don't realize what that yes is doing. It's not just you saying yes to the audition or yes to a low paying booking, but like what else did you just do in that yes?
Yeah. I mean, that's just a wonderful back and forth. I feel like a lot of actors they're always asking like, how do I build a relationship with casting? Like, how do I get casting to like me? Show up, do great work, show them that you can continue to do great work regardless of what the medium is. And just like you said, it creates this exchange where regardless of how that particular opportunity works out, the fact that you work really hard and consistently show up is undeniable. So they're always going to be thinking about you. Yeah.
Yep. So talking about like the local, you worked local on Zero Day, which is in New York.
I did. Yeah.
How is that?
Well, it presented its own challenges. Yeah. when the appointment details came out, it was a New York local hire job from the jump. So it wasn't a surprise to me. It wasn't like we went all the way to the end and they said, actually, you need to work local here.
Right.
I knew exactly what I was signing up from the beginning.
Did you guys try to get it added and they said no, or you guys didn't even try?
No, I didn't try because it didn't.
You knew.
It didn't. Yeah, I'm not gonna be the actor who gets all the way to the end and be like, actually, I'm not gonna. Now that I have the offer on the table, I'm not gonna do it unless you foot the bill for this.
That's such a great like that. I'm glad though that you talked about that, because it's like, yeah, it's like, here is the original terms. Like they want someone local, so
Yeah.
like don't try to change it on them. You're only going to make yourself look bad.
Yeah, you accepted the appointment details when you confirmed that you were going to tape for it. And so I'm like, just all the way through, be a person of your word.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was a New York local hire job from the jump. I grew up in Queens when I was younger, and so I have distant family there. And I was going to figure it out, right? It's the Robert De Niro project. Leslie Linkaglotter is the showrunner. I'm going to make this work. And initially, when we started moving into production, it was right around the time that the actors' writer's strike picked up. So I did the table read, and then subsequently the production was delayed indefinitely until the strikes were done. And the original shoot schedule was all over the place. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to be a nightmare. You know, figuring out where to stay and how many times I would have to fly in and out, if it even made sense for me to leave New York between certain pockets of days.
Right.
But then when the schedule came out in the winter, it all started moving really, really fast. And before I even actually had to be on set for, you know, the actual shoot schedule, I had to fly up to New York twice for a fitting between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And they gave me maybe 48 hours heads up. And they knew I wasn't there. And so it was my responsibility to pay, $450 for a plane ticket to make day trips to New York to do 15-minute fittings and then leave. But that's what I said I was going to do. So I did it.
Wow. How did you stay with family, or did you, what did you do?
No, I actually found, there's a woman up there who's also an actress, Amber Crawford. And at that point in time, she had her apartment and was renting out rooms, her second bedroom on Airbnb, but she was running like a great rate for other actors. And so a friend of hers referred me to her. And so I stayed with her for roughly about 2 months while I was there, from January to February of 2024. And she was my roommate, and it was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know you and I are very like-minded, but I'm going to jump on the other side of it for a second, just for devil's advocate, for the people that are like, but what about this? Right?
Yeah.
You know,
Let's do it.
So like, I think we could very easily say something like, it's 0 day, it's Netflix, it's, you know, they have the money. They shouldn't make you do that.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
Like, what, you know, you should fight for yourself.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Sure. All the above. I get where people are coming from when it comes down to stuff like that. But the reality is when you looked at the lineup of this show, they were not going to be spending money on me. And that's a tough reality for a lot of people, especially when we're actors who want to move up in our business. They're just not going to spend the money on me. I don't know how else to put it. And you can either sit that opportunity out and let somebody else do it, or you can decide that this is a smart move for your career and that there are definitely sacrifices on the front end, but there has to be. If you work hard and long enough, there will be a return on that investment.
That is so good.
Yeah.
You're so right. You know, I just had a conversation with Tara Feldstein, and we talked about like rates and getting, you know, more money and stuff like that. And it was like one of the first times it was like such a great, honest conversation. And there was a lot of actors there in that Zoom, you know, and I was like, well, you know, when do we ask for more money, you know, kind of. And she's like, I mean, casting will kind of see it. I'm like, you know, if you're in the show for 3-4 episodes, and then they write you in a little bit more, like, we'll see and be like, this doesn't deserve scale anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but like, it's dependent on the role. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I was like, well, what about, Tara, the person that's like, well, you know, the person that's auditioning that only has 3 credits, but I come in and I have 40 credits. Like, I shouldn't get more money?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, because it's about the role.
Yeah.
Like the role is the role. It doesn't matter who's playing the role is the role. Unless you are like some big name. And we talked about like Sean William Scott doing a recurring guest in Righteous Gemstones. It's like, okay, he's probably getting more money than the regular recurring guest because he's Sean William Scott. And I was like, it was like, actually, even though like I kind of already get it, I thought she really illustrated it so well. I'm like, yeah, it's just about the role. And it's exactly what you just said. You're like, they're not going to spend more money on this role. Like they're just not going to. So you can be upset and let the opportunity pass you by or do what you need to do and then understand that it'll pay you back in the back end.
Yeah, and I think a lot of actors, their eyes are bigger than their stomach. A lot of the people that are having the conversations about like, well, I want more money or well, I want this. And there are instances where it's justified, but you also have to, as you grow in your career, identify the points at which you have leverage. And so I'm thinking pretty recently I went in for like in under 5, honestly, it was like maybe like a 1-line role. And they asked me to tape for it probably at the end of January. And I was like, work begets work, right? I'm going to do it. And so that role didn't work out. But later on, about a month later, casting circled back and said, hey, we just want to check Eden's availability for this other role that she did an audition for. We don't need a tape. We just want to know if she wants to come in and do it. And I said, I'd be happy. I don't have to audition. This is
offer. This sounds
amazing.
awesome.
I would love to do it. But at that point in time, it's a role that doesn't advance my career, right? It's a 1-scene role where I'm probably going to get cut out of the majority of it. Let's be honest. Once you've been cut out of stuff, you're like, this might get cut.
Yeah.
And so I was like, the likelihood that I'm going to get cut out of the majority of it is frankly really high. And when I realized that they were asking for me, that was when I went back to my reps and said, can I get double scale for this? And they were like, no. But I was like, okay, but I slated Charlotte, so I would like travel. If I can't get double scale, I would like travel. And they traveled me in for this under 5 role that seemingly could have gone to anyone here where they wouldn't have had to foot the bill for it. And so in those instances, it's like just know when you can ask. Don't ask for asking's sake. And that's applies for everything, you know?
Well, in this particular scenario, what made you think you could do it now? Like why?
In terms of asking?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't when they offered it to me without me having to go in for it. It honestly was a test because I was gonna, if they would have said, you can keep the day rate and we're not going to travel you in, I would have been like, that's fine. I'll still work. Right. Like the reality. And I think my agents know that. My reps know that. Casting also knows that. But there are certain instances, and it's very rare. Like I know what I'm signing up for when I audition for something. The billing is right there in the appointment detail. So I know roughly about how much money that's going to be. But it was just a day I was feeling particularly confident, I guess, and decided I just wanted to see what happened. And nobody was mad that I asked because I didn't go in for it anyway.
You know, and going back to the building relationship with casting and all that stuff, right? It's like, I think it's a similar thing. It's like, how many times have you shown up, worked local, done these things, given casting great options and given them great auditions to make them look good. And then finally you're like, could you see if there's travel for me?
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? Eden deserves it. Like, and they're probably wanting to fight for you to get it.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing that at the gate, they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
You know, like, why am I putting my neck on the line? Why am I? Because you just have to remember, even though we all like love to do this and we can be like, this is an art. No, it's a freaking business.
Yes.
0 Day was made to make Netflix money.
Yes.
That's what it's there for, period.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a business. And so why are they going to pay more? Why?
Yeah.
If they can get it for less, why would they do it?
Yeah.
You know, that's really the truth of the matter.
Yeah. And I think it's also a perspective thing too. You can't look at casting or everyone is on your side. Everyone wants you to win. They want you to fix a problem for them. So to make some presumption that people are being stingy or they're just like out to hurt you or make you eat, you know, travel or all these other things is such a, I think, a really poor outlook on what it is that we do. If you can make those assumptions and say like, everyone's out to get me, why can't you think on the flip side and say like, people are on my side. People want me to win. I'm here to solve a problem. They would like for me to make money too. Yes. That would also, they understand that I I feed my family or pay my bills doing this thing, and they are also on your side.
I love that. Yeah, I saw a quote on something that it's like, if you think some people are out to get you, or you, essentially that what you just said is like, so often we think this way, but you understand if you're thinking that way, you could instead just think the other way.
Yeah.
Like it really is a choice. It's like,
Yeah.
instead of thinking you're going to lose, you could also just think you're going to win. Instead of thinking that it's not for you, you could think it is for you. Like
Yeah.
it really is just a thought process. Like that is just your biggest enemy.
Yeah. Your mind is a prison of its own making. So you can either decide that you're going to really hate doing whatever this is, or the way that you operate your life, or the way that you want to look at things, or you can decide that things are actually better and working in your favor. It's just taking time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, I am so excited. And I tell you what, if you're enjoying the podcast, I know you're going to want to hear this. We have our 3-day virtual actor summit coming up. This event is a 3-day online immersive event, 3 full days that are focused on moving you forward, getting you inspired, giving you a game plan to reach those next set of goals that you so deeply want to achieve. I love the Virtual Actor Summit so much because I can make you this promise that this will be undoubtedly one of the best online actor events you will ever attend. We bring instructors in from around the country, some of the top industry pros. We put together different panels and online workshops that really get you outside of your comfort zone so you can truly grow. What's so fantastic about this event is because you're completely immersed, right? So you have to grow. And that's what we're all trying to do, right? Is grow in our actor journey and grow in who we are as people. And so I just want to urge you so much to go to the description right now. There's a little bit of a discount there for you, and grab your ticket, okay? It's 3 full days, and I'll tell you, we already have one of the top casting directors in the Southeast in Feldstein, Paris, Chase and Tara, already confirmed for this event. They've cast a bunch of different Marvel projects, Ozark, Stranger Things, the list goes on and on and on. So if you want to put yourself in a situation to really move your career forward, you have to take action. So take some action right now, head to the description, grab that discount code, and we'll see you at the Virtual Actor Summit. So you have an element within your career and your life that I think is very important for actors and I remember when back in my bungalow days where I lived with my 2 roommates, we were always waiting for the booking where we could quit our regular job and we could make all of our money in acting. And it's funny, at one point, there was one of us that was in a place where we were doing it. And we're like, yes, right? And then undoubtedly, then you're like, and now the money's gone.
Yes.
Shit.
Yeah.
So I've realized that like you really need to have a stream of income coming in, even if it's a low amount, but a constant revenue stream also built in. And so you have that in being a nurse, or is it a nurse?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Where you're a nurse, how has that like helped you in this? And then are there any elements that have maybe hurt you within your acting career being a nurse, whether it be scheduling conflicts or stresses of balancing both of them? And then how has it helped?
Well, I came into acting a little later than everyone else, right? So I started my nursing career in 2013. I took my first acting class in 2017. And so I had already started building a reputation of loyalty and dependency with my department. And now we're looking at 12 years that I've worked in the same place. And slowly but surely, as I started pursuing my acting career, I dialed my hours back. And so now I work a highly flexible schedule where I pick up week to week, and I just have an understanding with my scheduler. I am my best self when I'm there, and they know that they can depend on me when I'm there. And I've, for the last 2-3 years, have operated under this schedule and have proven that I will continue to do exactly what I said I was going to do. I don't see a whole lot of instances where working as a nurse has hurt me because the timing of it all just worked out, right? That this proves to be very flexible at a time when I need maximum flexibility. But I think to to what you said, it's so important to have money and feel security in your life when you're pursuing this, because one of the biggest challenges that I find with actors who are pursuing this full time, they want just like the most flexibility, and they're willing to do any job that offers maximum flexibility, right? And at the end of the day, these are Postmating or door dashing or things where they can just kind of pick up and Uber and whatever. And the friends that I have that kind of operate under that mindset continue to feel really stressed out because they're not making enough money doing what it is that they're doing. And subsequently, when an opportunity comes in and there's a potentially $25,000 on the table for a commercial, it changes your energy for how you want to work on this particular audition. And so I think what people fail to realize is that like 90% of the time, there is nothing that is happening in this career that is so unbelievably immovable, right? If the majority of our career is taking class, getting better in our craft, and auditioning, you can make that work or even around a full-time schedule. It's when you try to prioritize this and then subsequently fail to bolster that, to have this financial security, that I don't think people realize how that leaches into their work, you know?
Yes. So true. I can't agree more, because, when I think about actor friends or whatever that book a lot, I'm like, when did it start working for you, right?
Yeah.
And I swear the answer is every time, like, when I stopped caring.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's exactly what you're describing right now. Like when that big, recurring thing comes up on, you're like, oh my, I have to get this. This would change my life. And it's like, I can already tell you, you're not going to get it.
Yes.
Like you haven't even looked at the script. You're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Because you just want it way too badly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean like you can't want, like, doesn't mean don't want it. Right. But it's just like there's just a desperation there. And casting talks about it all the time, how they can see it. I don't know how they can see it, but they can see it.
Yeah.
They know it's there. There's a certain sense of like, my life is great with or without this job.
Yes.
I'm so happy if I get it. That would be freaking awesome. I'd love it. It'd be so great. But like, if not, there's another show down the line that I will book.
Yeah.
Like that type of energy you have to find.
In order to have that like sexy indifference, you kind of have to feel financially secure.
Yes. I don't think kind of. I think you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's people that have done it in unfinancial security. So maybe, but I agree. You really.
The majority of people need financial security to have sexy indifference in their auditions. I think that's like really attractive. Yeah.
So can you talk about the nurse thing for a little bit more? Because I'm like, actually, like I would never have thought, like go be a nurse. As an actor, I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that there's like some flexibility in that. Is that common?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is the majority of nurses who work in a hospital setting, on average, work 36 hours a week, and that's 3 12-hour shifts in a row. So if you're on a particular schedule, you're off for 4 days a week. And so, yeah, that's pretty common, especially working in the emergency department. We have a rotating door of needs. We never stop seeing people. And so I just happen to also work in a high census specialty within the hospital, to where they really are never going to say no to having help. And so it's just it's a perfect storm. Unless nursing is like something you really, really want to do as an actor, I wouldn't be like, now's the time to go to nursing school, right? Because if you don't want to do it, you're not going to want to do it.
Yeah, totally.
But I think just like everything else, your life should feel full outside of acting, because everything that you do in your life informs your artistry, right? The wonderful life experiences you have, the things you learn by interacting with different people. A lot of people will be like, nursing and acting don't have anything to do with each other. And so that's like the moment that they have when they realize that I do both. But nursing has everything to do with empathy and compassion. And what we do as actors is exercise empathy and put ourselves in other people's shoes. And there are opportunities to just build a great life for yourself outside of this that will only enrich what it is that you do in your work.
I love that. I just think actually first, have you booked a role of a nurse?
I did.
All right.
It took a long time.
Did it?
It honestly took too long. when I first
Were you like, this is absurd?
No, and I was it honestly hurt my feelings in the
Did it?
beginning because I was like, I am a nurse, and I knew that my agent was like, she's a real life nurse, and they were like, no, she's not. I don't know what it was, but I had gone in for nurse roles in, gosh, like procedural settings, comedies, and very serious stuff. And the thing that ended up booking was my nurse role in Dynasty, where I'm talking about face cream. And I was like, but I'm a nurse in it. And since then, I've had a couple of other roles where I've worked as a nurse. But yeah, it honestly hurt my feelings. I was like, maybe you guys don't know, nurses are not all nice all the time.
Right,
and I think
right.
that's what was the bump for people. They were like, she's actually really mean in this scene. I think
You're
she's
like,
supposed
but
to be
that's
nicer.
what's happening.
I was like, but that's what would happen in real life.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You know, I actually, God, I don't remember what casting director said this, but I actually feel like I remember someone I was talking to a casting director and they had said, oh, you got to look like they're a real cop. And the casting director was like, yeah, I don't want a real cop. I want an actor.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe everyone you could say I was a nurse.
Yeah.
You know, and even if you still are or cop or whatever, it's like, I've already done this. So I'm very experienced, but now I'm only an actor.
There are my gosh, like The Pit is one of my favorite shows right now, and everybody at my work in the emergency department is obsessed with it. And they're like, come on, Eden, just get on the show. And I was I'm like, it's not that simple.
God, when people say that
stuff. And also
just call Tyler Perry.
They're like, just get on the show.
Yeah.
But the reality is in that particular setting, me saying that I'm a real life ER nurse potentially has no value, exactly like you said. It makes no difference if I'm good at doing this stuff in real life. I need to be able to do it fake life and make it look good and do it highly choreographed. And there's nothing in my nursing career of 12 years that says I can hit my marks and do my, you know what I mean?
If
like
anything,
it's not a given.
You might be bad at it. Like you're going to be worse at it.
Yeah. And I've worked on a couple of medical shows where I'll like look around and I'll be like, are we okay with how all this looks, right? Because my brain is screaming knowing that all of this looks crazy wrong. But the general audience that's watching that show has no idea. All the healthcare professionals watching that show will be like, bruh this looks terrible. But I have no value as a healthcare professional, even when I'm acting as a healthcare professional on set.
Yeah. Well, so the reason why I'm like, I want to circle back to the nurse thing just because I'm like, I just never would have thought about it. And so now I'm like, what other jobs out there? There's got to be other jobs out there that it's like, you just never would have thought this could be pretty conducive to the acting career as well.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if you're trying to find a more consistent income, I think outside the box. Like no one would have thought nurse before, but like what else? I don't know. Maybe go on AI and tell AI like all the parameters of like what you're hoping for or something, and be like, tell me all the jobs that I could maybe go do. Because like the consistent money is so needed, even if you have booked a really big thing. It's like, I'm sure, you know, the checks from 0 Day, you're like, now I'm just like, so now I'm like ready to go make a big investment, or I'm ready to go on some crazy lavish vacation. Like you're just like, because you have the consistent income, and then when you're done with 0 Day, the money continues. Like you're like, all I did was just get a bunch of big checks. And it's a big bonus that I can go do whatever I want with. Where before, the actor is like, thank God, because I was going to be homeless next month. And like now you have rent for 4 months, but now in 4 months you're screwed again.
Yeah. But everything is cyclical, you know, when you get a great few paychecks or you book a unicorn commercial that ends up doing 6 figures and you go, oh my gosh, like I've made it. But the next year you're starting from 0 all over again. The moment that check dries up, you're right back to square one. And I think the bump for people is that there are a lot of jobs that can be highly flexible if you put in the time and effort to actually forge your path in that career. But it's just the mindset of like, no, I need to do something that keeps me free like 90% of the time. Okay, well, unless you're going to be working on your acting 40 hours a week, you don't need all that time. You can go do something else and make money doing something else.
I think another thing to add to that is that everyone, all the actors assume that like they're gonna book a big job next week.
Yeah.
You know, so they're
Wouldn't
like,
that be nice?
yeah. So they're like, well, I can't go do that because what happens if?
Yeah.
Right.
Then quit your job.
Right. Then, yeah. All right, great. You did it. Then
Yeah,
you
then
quit the
quit.
job. Yeah. It's like, but go start taking action to set yourself up for that security.
Yeah. Don't create a problem that doesn't already exist.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. Just
Exactly.
do something else. And then the moment that you book a job where you feel fine, go ahead and quit. And then guess what? When that money dries up, go get another job. It's not that complicated. People think there's a state, like a state of permanence that they have to. The moment that they quit their job, they must be a full-time actor forever. I have friends who have, like, over the seasons of the pandemic and the strike, and now just kind of where the industry is right now, that they've had to pick up part-time work. And there is initially a sense of reluctance, like, but I'm a full-time actor. No, you're a person and you need money and you need a job, right?
Yes.
Like that's that part of it. And once we get over the ego of it, we realize it actually, there's opportunities to be really fulfilled doing this thing as well. And that can live in tandem with your acting career.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Eden, I think we have to get to our spotlight sign off, even though I feel like we could just start again and do a whole new podcast again. It's been so great talking to you, but 5 questions to end strong.
Okay.
Question 1, what is something you're super grateful for today?
Being here. I know that that's like so cliche and a lot of people have said that, but I have been a big fan of you and the studio and what you guys have been doing this whole time. First few episodes of this podcast that rolled out, I texted you and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just so happy that you're doing this because it's so clear that you want to serve this community. And so I'm just really happy. It feels like a big full circle moment for me because
Aw.
you are a big reason as to why I have the relationships that I have in Atlanta right now. So super grateful to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. And you just like gave me chills. And I'm just so happy to be on your journey and help how I can. And again, I already said it, but so proud of you. It's been so cool to see your journey and see where you were. And like, I want to get an agent to like now working, almost the whole season of 0 Day on Netflix in New York, opposite dinner. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
So proud of you. You deserve it. And again, you work so hard and so smart. And I'm so glad we were able to talk about so much of that.
Yeah.
Second question is, what television show, film, or book changed the trajectory of your life?
So I know people are really, really profound when they answer this question because I've watched like 95% of your podcast. But I'm going to say The Office.
The Office?
Yeah.
There's definitely people right now that are so excited you said that.
It's my all-time favorite show. When my husband and I watched it the first time, I had watched it in completion before I had introduced into it, and I lovingly kept his eyes pried open the entire first season when he was like, this is terrible, I don't want to keep watching it. But it's a comfort show for me. It always makes me feel really good. It always makes me laugh. I think it's just like a perfect combination of just simple and good. And when I meet people who are huge Office fans, I'm like, oh, you're my people. You get it. You get that this is the best show on television ever. You get this. And I don't need to explain anything to you. And seemingly I find myself trusting opinions that I probably would, like if they like another movie that I hate, I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty good movie too, because you clearly have good taste in this arena. Yeah.
You may be the first person, Eden, to talk about it, like changing the trajectory of your life, like as a viewer.
Yeah.
I think everyone always is like, well, what thing made me inspired to be an actor or an artist or something like that? But few or zero, I think have been like as an audience member, like as the viewer, truly, I just, this makes my life happier or whatever, and that's what the shows are for too.
Yeah. That's why I love comedy, because it's just the most perfect way to introduce very real life problems and to an audience that is already open. And I think a lot of what we do is, obviously there are things to explore like as actors, but at the end of the day, I want to make people feel good, right? I want to make them think and I want to comfort them. And that is just by far my favorite show to watch.
I love it.
Yeah.
What's something in your daily routine that you really cherish?
I love my morning routine. I have a very specific morning routine. I like get up, nowadays, my dad lives 3/4 of a mile from me, so I'll meet up with him. He lives in a 55 plus community. He just
Oh,
moved, and so we'll go to the clubhouse. He'll grab a cup of coffee, and we'll walk in the morning. And then I'll go to the gym, and then I come back and I walk my dog for like 30 minutes, just in the peace and quiet. And I'm trying to get better about, just doing that. And I find that when I start my morning that way, everything else can happen, and at the very least I know I took care of me. So even when I'm traveling, I try to replicate that. It's important for me to make sure I get a good breakfast, to make sure, like this morning I was like, I have to work out before we do this interview to get my brain flowing and to operate like I'm supposed to.
yeah, that's special. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that you're walking with your dad. That's so
Yeah.
cool. What's something you're currently trying to improve in your life right now?
I'm actually trying to get better at living in the quiet. So I am a big podcaster, like listening to podcasts and always just having some sort of, I guess, auditory stimulation. I like music. I like listening to murder while I'm doing the dishes, right? Like there's always something on. And I'm finding that I'm just trying to get better at being quiet with my own thoughts. And it's revolutionary just to be able to do my day-to-day things. Like I would, you get in the car and before you start driving, you cut on music. That's like an impulse I'm trying to fight because I'm like, it's 5 minutes down the road. I should be able to drive 5 minutes without listening to a song. And so I'm trying to challenge myself to just live quieter. There's just too much noise.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Sometimes, you know what sometimes my Tesla has the audio doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it needs to get like reset.
Yeah.
But you're already driving, so you're like, so I'm gonna let that be a sign that it's like, Jesse, you're supposed to be in silence right now.
Yeah.
That's good. That's what you want.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's scary at first, but it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, last question. We've gone over a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe you bring something up that we've already discussed or something brand new. But if you wanted everyone to get one thing for sure, what would it be?
I thought about this, and it's something that over the past year has really helped me. I don't remember exactly where I heard it, but we've all heard the analogy of production and casting and all of that, the show or the film being a big puzzle. And I feel like we try so hard sometimes to figure out, like, what do you want? Like, what do you want me to be? Just so I can be in this puzzle. And I heard it somewhere that the most important thing that you can do is just maintain your shape and realize that your job is not to clip the corners of your puzzle piece and add parts of it to make it fit this particular puzzle, but acknowledging and having the patience and the resilience to know that your puzzle is coming. And at that point in time, you will fit just perfectly. And nobody else will be able to fit into that puzzle but you. So you just have to maintain your shape.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Eden, it was so fantastic having you here. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, all of you. It's such an incredible conversation. I'm sure this was impactful for you. And I'm sure right now you're thinking of someone that this could be impactful for them. Send this episode their way right now. Hit that share button and send it to them. And make sure to subscribe. And if you haven't left us a review, please do. Let us know how this podcast is affecting your journey in a positive way. Thanks for being here. I'm Jesse, and this is Get Scene Unscripted. We'll see you on the next one.